There sure is a lot coming out around this article. Yesterday I did a video. A'ja Wilson named the Time Athlete of the Year, Time Magazine. Somebody did have a great question in the comments. Who reads Time these days? That's a good point. That's a hell of a point, to be quite honest with you. But it seems that Time Magazine has reverted back to its...
One phone call ended a legend's career. A'ja Wilson, a centerpiece of Team USA, was suddenly dropped from the roster. This wasn't a demotion or a temporary break. She was gone completely. Her name, usually the first one on the list for Olympic gold, was simply missing. USA basketball stayed silent, but that silence sent a clear message that would change the sport forever. This unthinkable decision shocked the basketball world, revealing hidden tensions and a massive power shift linked directly to the sport's newest superstar.
That's a great honor. Congratulations to A'ja. But I'm like, what is all this ruckus about? So then we dive deep into it, and it seems like there's some paragraphs from this article that put down Caitlin Clark in order to prop up A'ja, which is crazy because if you guys remember, Caitlin Clark was Time's Sportsperson of the Year just last year. So I haven't actually gone into detail reading these. I wanted to live react to them with you. This video might be a little rambly, a little ranty, but let's jump right in.
The news broke just as A'ja Wilson was being celebrated as Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year. However, the article honoring her included sections that seemed to put down Caitlin Clark in an attempt to praise Wilson. This felt strange, especially since Clark had been Time's Sportsperson of the Year only a season ago. The move sparked a heated debate. Why would a major publication try to pit these two stars against each other? It reignited arguments about race and media narratives, tensions that Clark herself has consistently tried to shut down.
Now, A'ja Wilson, she got to get this award. And somehow, some way, nothing can ever be done involving A'ja Wilson without either Time Magazine or the sports media using Caitlin Clark's name to get everybody riled up because they called Caitlin Clark's fans toxic, racial, divisive, yada, yada, yada. In other words, used an article to crap on you guys. You, the Caitlin.
A'ja Wilson believed her spot on Team USA was untouchable. With decades of dominance, Olympic medals, and WNBA titles, she felt her position was guaranteed. She moved with an air of entitlement, assuming her legacy mattered more than modern metrics like momentum, team chemistry, or the new direction of the game. This assumption that her spot was owed to her rather than earned became her biggest blind spot. While the sport was changing rapidly, Wilson relied on her veteran status and failed to adapt. This set the stage for a shocking and unprecedented fall from grace.
From the nap, as of this moment, the Pacers are up 2-1 in the finals. Has there been anything that surprised you so far in the series? Obviously, Oklahoma City was the best team in the NBA all year, but right now they're not looking like themselves.
What surprised me is just it being the Pacers in the finals.
We aligned in that, brother. I didn't see that coming.
Right.
Okay, well, are y'all fans of the W? We also have the Fever in Indiana as well. What do y'all make of?
The call came on a regular Friday morning. A'ja Wilson expected it to be a routine check-in about schedules or her role for the season. Instead, she received a reality check that flipped her entire career upside down. The message wasn't about a smaller role or mentoring younger players. It was blunt. She was off the team. There was no roster spot and no chance for a World Cup appearance. It was a clear, unmistakable signal that Team USA had moved on. She was completely blindsided by a decision that felt sudden, but in hindsight, seemed inevitable.
Of the year last year. And in that article, she was asked multiple times about these narratives around Caitlin and the racial divide that happens in America and specifically around women's basketball. It has gotten so insane and she has denounced it so many times. She said it in the Times article that she doesn't want her name to be used for these different negative and divisive things that it's used for. And the fact that Time Magazine named her Sportsperson of the Year in 2024 and then in 2025 turn around and put something like this in an article, by the way, you guys, that is supposed to prop up.
Wilson's inner circle was stunned, but they soon realized the decision made perfect sense. She had planned her entire year around Team USA turning down big endorsement deals and changing her training schedule. She spoke to the public with the total confidence of someone who knew her spot was safe. That certainty was her biggest mistake. While Wilson relied on her past achievements, USA Basketball was following a completely different playbook, one based on cold data and future strategy.
So yeah, this is not a video that I want to ever have to make. It's not a great video, and it's just unfortunately again something that has to be talked about because, and by the way, this is something that I would love to kind of not bring up ever, because this is a topic that isn't basketball, and at the end of the day I would much rather be talking about Team USA camp in a positive light.
Unknown to Wilson, USA Basketball had been quietly building a case against her. They weren't looking at her reputation. They were looking at data, chemistry reports, and media impact. They also had a long memory. Every public comment and subtle jab she made was tracked. They noticed a pattern in her polished statements. While she talked about respecting veterans, her negative subtext regarding the sport's new star, Caitlin Clark, became impossible to ignore. For USA Basketball, these wasn't just words. It was the final reason to commit to a new long-term strategy.
A'ja Wilson hit the game winner with 2.2 seconds left on the clock. Her number is 22, so the stars aligned for A'ja, and she hit this shot over Alyssa Thomas and DeWanna Bonner. This play was drawn up with 5 seconds left on the clock. So the Aces had the ball. There was about 20 seconds left on the clock. They're dribbling around. Nothing's happening. And Coach Becky Hammon calls a timeout with 5 seconds left on the clock. And I remember in my head thinking, this is the perfect scenario for the Aces. 5 seconds is almost the perfect amount of time to make a play happen, because if you do...
As Caitlin Clark's popularity exploded, Wilson's comments became even harsher. She began nitpicking Clark's shooting percentages while ignoring her high assist numbers, using selective stats to downplay her impact. Instead of acknowledging Clark's influence, Wilson consistently redirected praise to anonymous veterans. Every time Clark hit a new milestone, Wilson seemed to find a way to make it seem less important. USA Basketball watched this closely. They saw a divisive pattern that could damage the team in the long run, and they took careful note of it.
Neither have I.
I actually went to the WNBA All-Star.
I went to a game once
last year. That was dope.
Fellas, y'all gotta tap in, man. It's good hoop. It's good hoop. See, now you should get a reaction video from watching the WNBA game and being blown away by the skills, athleticism, and efficiency of WNBA basketball.
There wasn't one single blow-up or interview that broke the relationship. Instead, it was a slow build-up of tension that began to hurt team morale. Players started to worry that training camps would become awkward and uncomfortable. They questioned if the team's leadership was still unified or if this growing friction would cause them to fail on the world stage. For USA Basketball, team chemistry is the most important thing they have. They decided that the risk of a divided squad was simply too high. To them, team unity was more important than any individual player, and the constant drama was threatening to destroy their foundation.
A'ja Wilson is the GOAT of the WNBA.
Cap, Maya Moore is. And I think people will have to understand, yeah, A'ja got 3 chips, but guess who got 4? Maya Moore. She did it every other year. She did it in 2011, 2013, 2015, 2017. So that was a dynasty era. And Maya Moore retired early. She did this in a short career span. That last one was, what, 2017? That's not that long ago.
Let's pop it for A'ja, man. When you talk about the...
Wilson's agents scrambled to understand how a 2-time gold medalist and WNBA legend could be replaced by a player with 0 World Cup experience. But the answer was already there, hidden in 2 years of her own public behavior. USA Basketball didn't see a misunderstood veteran being treated unfairly. Instead, they saw a pattern of division, a leader who seemed unwilling or unable to work with the sport's most powerful rising star. The message was final. Team unity mattered more than past trophies.